Hi guys, and welcome to the next video on my channel. Apologies for my face, I've just got in from work and I couldn't be bothered to redo my makeup, so I thought this week we'd do a bit more of a light-hearted video, take a break from the true crime. Don't worry, next week I'm back with another serial killer profile, which is the dating show Killer, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get a notification for that and you don't miss it. But keeping with the theme of kind of Freshers Week and back to school, I thought I would do a video with some tips for Freshers Week. I've just finished, in January, I just finished my master's degree. I studied at Staffs for 4.5 years, Stafford University. I did broadcast journalism and then journalism. So it was September 2014 I started, and I really wish I'd looked up advice and tips on freshers. I think university does change you eventually to a completely different person, and you mature and you grow up a lot more. But these are just a little bit of tips and advice that you might want to follow. This video is for any new starters for university, but particularly for those who are who are very nervous about starting university, whether it's their first time away from home or they're worried about the change and making friends. We'll get into all of this later, but hopefully this will make you feel a little bit better about starting university. So as I said, I went to Stafford University, and when I moved into halls, and I lived with 11 other girls, and then we were also friends with the 12 boys that lived on the floor below us. So I had quite a few people that I lived with, but these are just a few things that I wish I'd known before I went to university. So we'll start off with the most obvious things to take. Now, obviously you've got your pots and your pans and your kitchen stuff, you've got your bedroom stuff like bedding and your notepads and your pens and stuff like that. But I really recommend taking, and I don't know if it was just because my halls beds were like camp beds and really uncomfortable, but take a mattress topper. So obviously you've got the undersheet, but I really recommend getting a soft, like comfy, cushioned mattress topper. Trust me, I wish I'd had one in first year. That mattress was seriously the most uncomfortable thing I ever slept on. Luckily, I was drunk most of the time, so I slept quite fine. So yeah, I really recommend taking a mattress topper. I also recommend taking all of the pens, not just your normal amount, loads. You'll get through them, they'll get stolen, you'll lose them, you'll forget them in a lecture, so make sure you take loads of pens. Which seems a bit obscure, but might really help out. So I don't know if it's just at my university, but I think quite a few of the universities, they do a lot of themed nights. So at Staffs they did Gobble, which was on every Wednesday, and every 2 weeks there was a fancy dress theme. So if you've got any odd bits of fancy dress lying around left over from Christmas or Halloween, take it, because you never know when it's going to come in handy. And especially if you're going to be joining some clubs and societies, they tend to do fancy dress nights quite a few times a semester, so I would really recommend taking odd bits of fancy dress, as bizarre as that sounds. If you're the kind of person that's going to be quite homesick, luckily for me, Stafford University was only a 20-minute drive away, although I didn't have a car or a driver's licence in my first year, so it was about half an hour train. If you're the kind of person that's going to be homesick, take pictures of your friends and family with you to like decorate the wall. I know quite a few girls in my halls had different like Polaroid pictures or printed out pictures of their friends and family from back home, and then they added their university friends to it and they just covered their walls in pictures. So not only does it a nice reminder and makes you feel a little bit less homesick, it also decorates what can sometimes be quite a bland room in halls. Sometimes they're just like white walls and a dark grey carpet, and it's a bit bland, so I would really recommend taking pictures, or if not that, some posters, some fairy lights, just some personal things to kind of jazz up your room and make it seem a little bit less dull. University is an amazing time, but I can't say much for university accommodation. Although I think the halls at Staffordshire University have been updated now, which isn't fair because it was the year after I left, and they've all got sofas and TVs, and we just had little plastic chairs and old tables. So next thing we're going to talk about is just getting involved and throwing yourself 100% into everything. I know it can be so daunting, and a lot of people think, oh, I'm never going to make friends, I'm not going to make friends, but you've got to realise that everyone is in the exact same situation as you. Unless they already know people that are going to the same university as them, a lot of people are there, they don't know who they're going to be living with, who's going to be on their course, they think they're not going to make friends. But just be yourself and you will make friends. I've made so many amazing friends at Staffs, lots of which that I'm still in contact with now and I still meet up regularly with now. And you will meet some friends for life when you go to university. So just don't worry about that. But when you get there, if you are worried about making friends, then you should definitely go to your university's Freshers' Fair. Make the most of your Students' Union. They'll offer career advice, money advice, they'll offer all sorts of services. So check out your Student Union's website before you go to see what kind of activities they've got on for Freshers' Week and getting to know people. But I'd definitely recommend going to your Freshers' Fair and looking at some of the clubs and societies that they do at your university, because you'll make friends even if you're struggling to make friends in the accommodation you're in. So for example, I was in the Film Society and I also joined an a cappella group, don't ask me why. But you will meet friends naturally, but it's a really good way to make friends. I had quite a few friends who were in sports teams, and those sports teams become like family to them. They do everything together, they go on nights out together, and as I mentioned before, they do like themed nights out, and they just have so much fun. So I definitely recommend going and checking out your clubs and societies and making the most of your Students' Union. With Freshers, obviously I know with a lot of universities your first years don't really count, but do try and put in as much effort as you can with your first year, because you still have to get 40% to pass, which obviously isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things, but you'll find it really easy to transition into second and third year if you put in a lot of effort in your first year. In fact, I actually did better in my first year than in my whole degree as a whole. So I would definitely recommend just throwing yourself in there and trying to get work experience as soon as possible. I wish I'd looked for work experience in my first year, because when you get into your third year and you're like, oh, I've not got any. Luckily I managed to get work experience placements, but I would really recommend starting to look in your first year, giving it a go, seeing what you can do and just really getting yourself involved. So for example, I did a news hour on my university's OMG radio, and I did that once a week and I just recorded a package, and it was just good as something a little bit extra to put on my CV. Let's talk about money. Money, it's like one of the most talked about subjects at university. Most students don't have it. So obviously I saved up a little bit before I went to university ready for Freshers' Week, but if you haven't saved up, then sometimes money can be a worry, especially if you're not getting a lot of student loan. But there's different ways that you can make money. So you could sell stuff, that's kind of more of an obvious one. So there's places like Depop and eBay. So if you're sorting out your room for university and you find a lot of stuff that you think, oh, I'm not going to need that anymore, you could sell it and make a little bit of money. But I would really recommend looking for a part-time job. So my first year of university, I struggled to get a part-time job, but I did work at home with my cleaning job and with a job for a nightclub over the summer, which is another thing. Always have a summer job and save up money ready for September. It makes your life so much easier, but I digress. So in my second year I really needed a job, and luckily our Students' Union, again, check their webpage, they might have bars and shops that they take on students for, and that's what they had at Staffs. So at Staffs they had a coffee and a smoothie bar, they had shops, they have the Ember Lounge, which is where I worked, and then the student club LRB. So I got taken on in September 2015, and honestly it's probably one of the best jobs I've ever had. I had so much fun, it was so easy, I got paid a really good wage, and it fit around my lectures, so I could put in my lecture schedule and they would schedule me shifts around my lectures. And we had summer and Christmas holidays off because obviously it went with the semesters and the terms. I really have made some amazing friends at Ember. They're probably going to take the mick out of me for this if they watch this. But we've done all sorts of socials, from farmyard socials to what I wanted to be when I grew up. I'll probably put some pictures in here just to see how much fun we've had. So eventually I had the opportunity to go on as team leader, and so for the last year and a half I was a team leader before I left and obviously couldn't work there anymore, so now I have the job I'm with now. And being able to put that on my CV has helped me a lot, and it gave me a little bit of money, so I didn't really need a job in my second year because I had good student loan, and then when they got rid of the when I got rid of the grant, that's the word I'm looking for, the grant, and I got literally like no student loan, working at Ember was a lifesaver, and it gave me a little bit of a wage. I mean, it was only part-time, and I would only recommend getting a part-time job because you don't want to overwhelm yourself having too much to do. I know so many people that have fallen behind because they've had to get a full-time job to support themselves. But there are always other options, so I don't know if they do it at other universities, but at Staffs University they have a food bank, so I know quite a few of my friends who were students that were struggling could just go and grab a few tins of things if they couldn't get any help from anybody else. So I'd really recommend getting a part-time job, even if it's just a 1 day a week job or something you do in the evenings like a cleaning job. It's so beneficial. Sorry if I'm in a slightly different position, my phone just crashed, but we're back and we're going to finish the video. So another tip that I have would be to join freshers groups if you've not done already. So I think the university when I started had a website where you could log in and meet your new flatmates, but also I'd really recommend trying to find freshers pages set up by past students. So there was quite a few when I joined Staffs, and you could ask questions, find out stuff, and it really puts you at ease. Money and food prep. So before you go, I would recommend doing a huge food shop, getting a lot of frozen stuff and your things like your shower gel, your razors and that sort of thing. I would recommend going and getting all of that, because then you can just top up that. So if you get your freezer stuff, obviously don't get too much, because especially if you're in halls you don't have a lot of freezer space, but get your non-perishable items as well, like your pasta and your tins of stuff. And then you just have to top up with your fresh stuff like milk and bread and things like that. And I think I could do, if you went to kind of budget shops, like I went to Aldi when I had my car, sometimes ordered when I didn't have a car, but I usually went to Aldi and just got a taxi back when I didn't have a car. And I could do my food shop in £20 for 2 weeks, and obviously topping up with the odd bits like bread and milk at the corner shop. So I usually only spent about 40 to 50 on food a month, because I'd already got all this other stuff in the long run, and then when I ran out of the freezer stuff I just topped it up again, and obviously the shopping would be a bit more that month. But I really recommend budgeting and looking around for things and not just buying branded things. Budgeting is another thing that's really important to do. You have to weigh your options and what's most important. So obviously you want money for going out and doing things like that. So maybe think, okay, well I've got a few nights out planned this month, so I won't get those new pairs of shoes, or I won't buy that ticket to that concert. It's really important to have money. I managed to go my whole 4.5 years of university without having an overdraft. I understand that's not always the easiest for people. I was lucky to have a part-time job. So if you're going to have an overdraft, really do get a student account. I think Santander do them? I feel like most banks would do them, but I really recommend getting a student account. Other things you can get are, you can use your student card as discounts, but I'd really recommend downloading Uni Days if you haven't already from college or sixth form. You get loads of discounts on there. Or if that's not good enough, they've got Student Beans, or there is an NUS card, but obviously you have to pay for the NUS card. So it depends what you're weighing up as good freebies and discounts and things like that. Another thing that you can do is get a rail card, especially if you're going to be using trains a lot, which I guess you will if you're a student, to placements and places like that, to and from home. I always get the yearly one, the 16 to 25 rail card for, I think it's about 18 or 20, I can't remember, I know it's gone up. I think you can always find discounts for it, and yeah, I think that was about 18 in my first year. I don't know how much it is now. And this just gives you really good rail fares, and it saves you so much money in the long run. So it might be worth looking at different schemes you can get, different cards you can get for discounts that might cost you a little bit at first, but then saves you money in the long run. So yeah, they're just a few tips I have for starting university that I wish I'd known before I started. Let me know if you have any tips for freshers and what you would like to have known before you started university, and if you're starting university this time, let me know where and what you're going to be studying. Thank you for watching, and don't forget I've got another serial killer profile next week on the dating show Killer, so like I say, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Give this a like if you found this interesting or informative, and I'll see you next time.